The door slid open with a hiss, releasing a faint scent of ozone and sterilized air. Lyra Hale stepped inside. Detention Room 47B, isolated from the main corridors of Varelli's Academy of Interstellar Citizenship. The walls were polished alloy, smooth, seamless, built without right angles to discourage hiding or tactical positioning. Aliens designed this room for control, for compliance. Lyra's bootsteps echoed once across the floor, then the sound vanished, absorbed by the silent chamber. She stood straight, shoulders squared, backpack slung loosely, with the casual confidence of someone who had grown up under gravity that made alien bones ache. Her file said, Human, Deathworld classification. Her behavior report said, excessive intimidation via eye contact. She hadn't spoken a word. 3 alien students already sat inside, slender, bioluminescent Velith twins, and 1 scaled Torvaxi with matte cobalt skin. When Lyra entered, all 3 flinched as if something dangerous had crossed the threshold. The Torvaxi hissed. You smell like predation. Lyra set her backpack down and ignored him. I used soap. They didn't laugh. Deathworld humor didn't translate well. She slid into a corner seat, back to the wall. Habit. On Earth, turning your spine toward open space was an invitation for something with claws to test it. The room's hollow panel displayed her violation, infraction, standing too close to another student. Result, perceived hostile intent. She had been waiting in line at the vending machine. Across from her, the Velith twins whispered, their antennae trembling. Does she really drink venom for breakfast? I heard humans do it for fun. Lyra rested her forehead on her hand. First week of interstellar school, first detention. Dad said people would be curious. He didn't say they'd act like I eat my classmates. The door opened again. A figure entered wearing a pressed Navy Academy coat and a smug expression. Crix Valoran, son of Chancellor Valoran, student council leader, arrogant telekinetic noble, genetically tuned for superiority since egg stage. Crix didn't sit. He leaned against the control console, detention supervisor today. He stared at Lyra not with caution, but irritation. Deathworlder, he said, voice smooth as polished glass. You're early. Lyra met his stare with a calm, flat look. I walk fast, he smirked. Instincts? Legs. The room froze. Crix tilted his head. Is it true humans punch each other for entertainment? Only on weekends, Lyra deadpanned. The Torvaxi slid farther away from her, scales rattling. Crix stepped closer, stopping at her desk, too close for cultural comfort in most galactic species. He wanted a reaction. Lyra refused to give him one. You know why you're here, he said. Because I stood in a line, she replied. Crix traced a finger along the console. You invaded personal space. Valenthians require a minimum distance of 2 meters. I was 1.8 meters away, which is too close. It's a vending machine. It's not 2 meters wide. Not my problem that your species can't follow basic courtesy. Lyra folded her arms. Her patience thinned, but she held her voice steady. I didn't come here to intimidate anyone. That's funny, Crix murmured. Because existing seems to be enough. A soft chime sounded from the console. Detention start. Doors sealed behind him with a firm magnetic lock. Crix tapped the glass interface. The overhead lights shifted to dim blue. Sterile. Cold. I'll be monitoring your behavior, he said. Don't cause trouble. Lyra bit back a sigh. Trouble finds me even when I'm sitting still. He turned, leaving the console unattended for the briefest moment. Lyra's gaze flicked over the interface, emergency door release, lighting controls, environmental settings. She memorized layout and sequence, reflexively mapping escape routes. Humans didn't learn that because they were aggressive. They learned that because Earth demanded constant awareness. Awareness keeps you breathing. Crix pretended to review data on his datapad. He was watching her reflection in the glass. Lyra looked away. Not fearful. Simply bored. Minutes passed. Then, a whisper from the twins, barely audible. Maybe she can see in the dark. Deathworld eyes adapt to danger. Lyra didn't correct them. No point. Technically, humans didn't see in total darkness, but they did see faster than any species here could think. Humans evolved with predators. Most of the galaxy evolved with sunlight and safety. Crix's voice sliced through the tension. Human. Stand. Lyra remained still. I have a name. He walked to her desk, palms on the surface, leaning close enough she could see the reflection of her own eyes in his pupils. Use it, then, she challenged. His smile was empty. What's the difference? You'll be gone soon. Lyra's eyebrow lifted. Expelled? For existing too close to a vending machine? For being dangerous, Crix whispered. He straightened, pressed a command on the console. The lights snapped off. The room plunged into darkness. Someone gasped. A metal chair scraped the floor. Silence. Crix's voice echoed through the dark. Let's see how the Deathworld girl handles losing her advantage. No. He didn't turn off the lights for that. He turned them off because every other species here panics without visibility. It strips away their hierarchy, their confidence. He assumed she would panic too. Lyra closed her eyes, not because she needed to, but because darkness felt familiar, calming. She inhaled slowly. Her hearing sharpened. Breathing patterns in the room shifted. Torvaxi, rapid, frightened. Velith twins, small gasps. Crix, steady, forced control. He wanted to intimidate her. He didn't know humans learned to track predators by listening to breath before seeing movement. Lyra stood, not rushed, not dramatic, just stood. A chair leg skidded as the Torvaxi pushed back. Stay away! Lyra's voice emerged, quiet, controlled, without a hint of fear. You turned off the lights to scare me. A beat of silence. That's adorable. Something in her tone made the twins squeak in unison. Crix stiffened in the dark. Sit down, human. You don't move without permission. Lyra walked, slow, certain. Steps measured like she was moving through a forest at night, avoiding snapping twigs. Her voice remained soft enough to force everyone to strain to hear it. You think darkness is your advantage. Her palm brushed the edge of a desk. You grew up under artificial skies, controlled climates, predictable seasons. Her footsteps stopped, right behind Crix. When she spoke again, her breath stirred the air near his ear. Humans evolved in fear. We mastered it before fire. Crix flinched. She didn't touch him. Didn't need to. Her whisper carried the weight of 3 billion years of predation. You shut off the wrong sense, Crix. Silence. Not fear-driven silence. Freeze response. Silence. Lyra stepped back, calm, balanced, perfectly. Aware of every position in the room, I'm done playing your game. She moved toward the console by sound. Alone. Fingers mapping the edges. Her voice carried across the darkness. You wanted to see how a Deathworld girl handles losing the light. A soft click as she reached the power reset. We don't lose it. Light snapped back. On Lyra stood with one fingertip. On the reset button. Everyone stared. Crix looked as if someone had replaced his blood with ice water. Lyra sat back down at her desk, opened her notebook, and said without looking at him, next time you want to scare me, try something actually dangerous. The hallway outside detention was silent, the kind of silence that carried tension instead of peace. Lyra walked out first. The lights hummed overhead, casting long reflections on polished alloy floors. The hum was steady, predictable, unlike the glances that followed her from students at lockers and instruction alcoves. They looked at her differently now, not with mockery, with the assessment. Rumor spreads faster than light inside a school. She didn't care. She only wanted to get to her dorm, shower, and forget that detention even happened. Her backpack weighed lightly on one shoulder, uniform collar open, hair tied in a practical knot. A shadow peeled off the wall ahead. Crix. He leaned against the support pillar, posture too casual, like someone trying to hide agitation beneath practiced poise. Two of his friends flanked him, Vorn, a feathered avix whose talons clicked on metal flooring, and Relka, a Saren whose reflective skin shifted colors with mood. Right now, that mood was hungry for conflict. Lyra kept walking. "Crix," she said. Voice neutral. He stepped forward and blocked her path. "You embarrassed me," she blinked. "You turned off the lights. You made me look weak. In front of 3 terrified students? Aim higher." Relka's skin flashed bright red, aggression. Vorn's feathers puffed, wings twitching in agitation. Lyra didn't stop walking until she stood an arm's length away, close, but not aggressive. Her voice remained even. "Move." "Make me," he answered. Unnecessary challenge. Expected. She shifted slightly, enough to adjust her center of balance. Tiny, instinctive. Crix noticed. "You think violence solves everything?" "No," she said. "But your face looks extremely punchable," Vorn hissed. Relka stepped forward. Crix raised one hand, signaling them to stop. "I just want proof. I want to see how humans react under stress. And you thought trapping me in a dark room would do that? You didn't react. I reacted," she corrected. "Just not the way you expected." He frowned. Lyra stepped past him, brushing his shoulder, not roughly, just enough to show she wasn't intimidated. He grabbed her wrist. Lyra didn't yank away. She only turned her head slowly, and he felt her gaze sharpen into something surgical. He expected anger. Instead, he got calculation. "Crix," she said quietly, "this is where you let go." He held on a moment too long. A beat. Then he released her. She walked off, leaving them in the corridor, victory delivered without a raised voice. The Academy observation deco wall of reinforced glass opened to a vast view of the gas giant below, swirling storms in violent orange and white. Lyra had come here because open space helped her think. She wasn't alone. Head instructor Mira stood by the railing, silver skin shimmering like a mirror. Her species communicated partly through reflection, showing others a filtered version of themselves. Mira turned, expression unreadable. "You handled the situation calmly." Lyra rested her palms against the rail. He wanted a reaction. "What did you want?" Lyra thought for a moment. "Just to be left alone," Mira studied her. "That is not what destiny offers you." Lyra gave a short laugh. "I don't believe in destiny." "I do not mean prophecy," Mira said. "I mean pattern. The universe repeats patterns. Strength attracts challenge. Restraint attracts curiosity." Lyra stared at the storms below. "On Earth, restraint keeps you alive longer than claws." Mira nodded as if confirming a hypothesis. "You will be tested again. Be sure the outcome is one you can live with." Evening Lyra returned to her dorm room. Lights dimmed automatically as the door shut behind her. She set her backpack down and collapsed onto the bed. Her muscles relaxed. Her brain did not. She replayed Detention in her mind. The moment the lights went out, the fear in the room, the shift in power when she refused to break. She didn't want that. She didn't want to be the reason others trembled. Her whisper was barely audible. "I'm not here to dominate. I'm here to learn." The room lights flickered. Lyra sat up. Another flicker. Her instincts kicked in before logic. She stood, shoulders squared, posture ready. Darkness didn't frighten her, but flickering. That signaled interference. Her comm unit buzzed on the wall. "System alert, dormitory power disruption. Report to emergency safe zone." Lyra grabbed her boots and headed for the hallway, sub-level corridor. The Academy's emergency lights were blood red, casting the corridor into harsh shadows. Lyra moved toward the safe zone, footsteps steady. Halfway there, she saw movement. Crix, and 6 students she didn't recognize, all bigger than she was. They stood between her and the emergency corridor, forming a blockade. She stopped. He stepped forward. "You humiliated me once." "Not again." Lyra exhaled slowly. "You cut the power?" He smiled. "I turned off your witnesses." She scanned positions. 4 in front, 2 behind, Crix centered. They expected panic, flight, or negotiation. Instead, Lyra dropped her bag to the floor. A soft thud broke the silence. Crix blinked. "You're surrendering?" "No." She tied her hair back in one precise motion. I'm preparing. Vorn spread his wings, talons scraping the wall. You think you can take us? I know I don't need to. What's that supposed to mean? Relka snapped. Lyra stepped toward them, slow, controlled. Her voice carried zero threat, yet the corridor felt smaller. It means you're here to show dominance. I'm here to end this. Crix tensed. You're one human. She tilted her head. On your charts? Yes, in reality? Silence. Crix gestured sharply. Two students rushed her. Lyra moved. Not aggressively. Efficiently. She sidestepped the first attacker, using his momentum to send him stumbling. She placed one hand on the second attacker's wrist and redirected his lunge into the wall. Not strength. Technique. No wasted movement. No unnecessary force. The corridor echoed with the heavy thud of impact. Lyra didn't hit them. She let them fall on their own. Another came from behind. She pivoted, dropped her weight, caught him by the forearm, and guided him into a controlled fall that knocked him breathless. 3 down. No bruises. No injuries. Only disbelief. Relka stumbled back. She's not even fighting. I am, Lyra said. Just smarter than you. Crix stared, shocked, for the first time unsure. You shouldn't be able to do that, he whispered. You built your body for comfort, she answered. Mine evolved for survival. He lunged. Lyra didn't counterattack. She stepped inside his reach, caught his wrist lightly, and held it just long enough to make him feel powerless. Then she let go. He stumbled. Everyone stared. No aggression. No escalation. Just proof. Lyra backed away, voice calm and controlled. You can't beat something you don't understand. Crix's breathing turned irregular. Why didn't you finish it? Because you weren't a threat, she said. Just loud, she stepped around. Him and picked up her backpack. A soft alarm. Sounded, power restored, white. Lights flooded the hallway. All 6 students squinted and shielded their eyes. Lyra didn't flinch. She walked away, without looking back. That night, the academy rumor changed shape. Humans weren't terrifying because they were violent. They were terrifying because they chose not to be. Lyra expected consequences. Fighting, no matter how clean, rarely went unnoticed inside Varelli's academy. Word traveled faster than students could breathe. She felt the shift the next morning while walking toward the central hall. Eyes tracked her, whispering, but it wasn't the same terrified awe as before. There was calculation, recognition. She reached her locker. As she entered her passcode, someone stepped beside her. Instructor Mara, silver skin catching reflection, a flawless mirror reflecting Lyra's face. Focused, calm, unreadable. You were in the sub-level corridor last night. Lyra didn't lie. Yes, you faced 7 students. None suffered injuries. They attacked first. Mira studied her reflection. You disarmed them without violence. I neutralized them without harm, Lyra corrected. There's a difference. And why did you choose restraint? Lyra closed her locker quietly. Because if I fought back, I'd prove them right. And if you had walked away, they would follow. They wanted a spectacle. And what did you give them? Lyra shouldered her bag. A lesson they weren't ready for. Mara exhaled slowly, something like admiration behind her tone. Patience is rarer than strength, and harder to maintain. Before Lyra could respond, the academy chime pulsed overhead. All students report to the Grand Assembly Hall immediately. Students filed through transparent corridors toward the main auditorium. The hall was enormous, tiered seating encircling a floating central stage. Holographic banners shimmered with the academy crest. Lyra took her seat near the back. Crix was already there, positioned near the front beside Chancellor Valoran. He didn't look at her. Good. She wanted invisibility today. Her wish didn't last long. Chancellor Valoran stepped onto the stage. His voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by acoustic panels. A disturbance occurred last night. A spotlight cut across the hall, straight to Lyra. Her stomach tightened. 7 students were found incapacitated in Corridor 9B. No lasting injuries. No structural damage, murmurs rippled through the chamber. The culprit has not been formally identified. Crix shifted, jaw tightening. He refused to look her way. Valoran raised a hand for silence. But we know who was involved, Lyra straightened. If this turned into a tribunal, she would defend herself, calmly and logically. She braced for it. Instead, Valoran gestured toward a side door. Security footage, projector 1. A landscape of pixelated grain lit up the hollow panel. The recording showed the corridor from above. Crix and his group surrounding someone smaller, Lyra. The audio clicked on. Crix, you humiliated me once. Not again. Lyra swallowed hard when the crowd gasped. The recording continued, every motion visible. Lyra stepping aside from a lunge, redirecting, guiding attackers safely to the ground. No hitting, no striking, only precision. A controlled ballet of survival. The footage ended with Lyra walking away. Valoran turned to face thousands of stunned students. Observe carefully. Not once did she harm another student. Not once did she escalate the encounter. She ended conflict without force. The room hung in silence, suspended in disbelief. Then, this is restraint. Lyra blinked. What? Valoran stepped closer to the center platform. Power without control is chaos. Power with restraint is leadership. She realized then, he wasn't reprimanding her. He was showcasing her. Valoran motioned toward the audience. Many of you fear humanity. You see them as violent due to their evolution on a harsh world. He pointed at the hollow panel displaying her movements. Yet this human demonstrated more discipline than every attacker present. Lyra felt hundreds of eyes shift from fear to something new. Respect. He turned toward her fully. Lyra Hale, front and center, her chest tightened. She stood, walked down the aisle, and stepped onto the stage. Whispers dissolved into complete silence. She stopped 3 feet from the Chancellor. Valoran studied her with an unreadable expression. Why didn't you fight back harder? Lyra chose truth. I didn't need to. Explain. She faced the crowd. Strength isn't about winning a fight. It's about deciding when not to throw a punch. Stillness fell over the assembly. I didn't come here to dominate anyone. I came to learn. But I won't let people corner me and expect me to shatter. A voice echoed from the balcony. Someone from another species. You were surrounded. Why weren't you afraid? Lyra waited a heartbeat. Fear isn't weakness. Letting it control you is. Vorn, the feathered Avix, was seated far from Crix's group. His feathers were tucked close, subdued. He raised a hesitant wing. You could have injured us. You didn't. Lyra nodded once. Because I don't prove strength by breaking things. Chancellor Valoran's voice cut in. And that is why this academy invited humanity into the Alliance. He turned toward Crix. Crix Valoran, stand. Crix rose slowly. His posture was rigid, expression strained. You orchestrated a power outage. You engaged multiple students in coordinated intimidation. You breached academy safety protocols. Gasps filled the hall. Crix didn't deny it. His voice shook. You acted out of pride, Valoran said. She acted out of discipline. Crix stared at the floor. Valoran raised his hand. You are suspended. Relka and the others looked stunned. Crix's world, entitlement and assumed superiority, cracked in front of everyone. Lyra felt zero satisfaction, zero triumph. She didn't like watching anybody fall. When Crix passed her on the stage steps, he stopped briefly, eyes flicking to hers. Not hatred this time, confusion. Maybe realization, he whispered, barely audible. Why spare me? Lyra answered quietly. Because someone has to be better. He swallowed hard, nodded once, and walked away. After the assembly, the hall emptied slowly. Students hung back, not to avoid her, but to approach. A Torvaxi from biology class approached first. If you ever want a study partner, I volunteer. A group of Velith twins bowed. Teach us focus exercises? A Saren girl asked shyly. Is it true that humans run for enjoyment? Lyra blinked. It's called exercise. They stared like she just admitted to fighting volcanoes for recreation. She laughed, genuine, warm. the kind that eased tension instead of sharpening it. Maybe they didn't understand humans yet, but they wanted to. Later. Observation deck. Lyra leaned on the railing again, watching storm clouds swirl across the gas giant below. She heard soft footsteps. Instructor Mira joined her side. "You changed something today." Lyra exhaled slowly. "I only reacted." "No," Mira corrected. "You chose," Lyra considered that. "I just wanted to show that humans are not threats." "You showed something else," Mira said. "You showed that humans can be trusted with power." Mira turned toward her. "The galaxy has always feared your kind. Now they'll reconsider." Lyra felt the weight of those words. "I don't want to be a symbol," she said softly. "You already are." Final scene. Lyra walked back toward her dorm, corridor lights reflecting in her calm eyes. Students stepped aside, not in fear this time, but in recognition. In respect, a message pinged her datapad. Interstellar Scholarship. Status approved. Recipient Lyra Hale. Her breath hitched, not because she earned it through strength, but because she proved restraint matters more. She whispered to herself, barely audible, "Humans aren't dangerous because we fight. We're dangerous because we know when not to." And for the first time since she arrived at the academy, she smiled. Lyra didn't realize how much her life had changed until she stepped into the academy atrium the next morning. Students who once avoided eye contact now offered respectful nods. A few even smiled. Still, the shift felt fragile, like ice across deep water. Admiration mixed with uncertainty. She adjusted her backpack and headed toward her first class. That's when she noticed two figures waiting by the transit lift. Their uniforms were black with a gold insignia hovering above the left breast. Galactic Alliance Diplomatic Corps, not instructors, not students, officials. One, a tall Valorian with silver-plated armor and a clear visor, spoke without preamble. "Human Lyra Hale, you are to accompany us. Summons issued by the Galactic Council." Lyra's pulse jumped. "The actual council?" "Yes," the armored official replied. "Now, please." The lift doors opened. Lyra stepped inside. The summit spire. The lift rose through transparent shafts, revealing the atmospheric storm below the station. Violent orange and white spirals churning endlessly. The view never failed to awe her. The doors opened to a chamber unlike anything she had seen, a circular platform suspended over the void. 5 floating seats arranged around it, one for each ruling species. The Galactic Council, they were already present. A crimson-scaled Sarathi general, posture rigid. A crystalline Sidran, light refracting off geometric edges. A winged Avix representative, feathers sleek and metallic. Chancellor Valoran, representing the Lumerians. And a final chair, empty, reserved for rotating guests. Lyra's footsteps echoed on polished glass as she crossed the platform. "Human!" the Sarathi general rumbled. "You may stand." She stopped at the center, hands at her sides, heartbeat steady. Valoran was the first to speak. "Lyra Hale, your restraint demonstrated discipline beyond expectation." The Sidran flickered like a sunbeam through cut emerald. "Your species evolved under environmental violence. Yet you choose peace. Explain." Lyra swallowed. "Violence shapes instinct. Choice shapes identity." The Avix leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Would you describe humans as peaceful?" "No," Lyra said. "I'd describe humans as capable." The room went still. She continued. "When you grow up where danger exists everywhere, aggression becomes wasteful. Strategy keeps you alive longer than strength." The Sarathi narrowed his eyes. "Then why does your species fight so fiercely in recorded conflict?" Lyra met his stare with a steadiness born from reality, not bravado. "Because when we fight, it's to protect." The Sarathi shifted, less skeptical, more thoughtful. Lyra added quietly, "We'd rather build than destroy. But if someone tries to break what we protect, we don't stop halfway." The Sidran pulsed, a sign of contemplation. You ended a threat without causing harm. Impressive, but one incident is not enough for policy revision. Lyra frowned. Am I here to be judged? No, Valorant answered. You're here because the Alliance has a concern. A holographic map lit the air above them. Deep blue with red clusters blinking along the outer rim of the galaxy. Hostile activity, unknown species. Designation, Varaxian. Swarm Lyra straightened, instinctively alert. The Avix representative spread his talons in emphasis. The Varaxian invade without warning. They drain planetary resources and leave barren husks. Lyra absorbed the information. What does this have to do with me? The projection zoomed. A small blinking dot appeared near the border. Earth. Proximity threat. Her blood froze. Valoran spoke gently. We detected scouting vessels approaching your outer system. Lyra's voice was soft, steady. You waited to tell me? The Sarathi general cut in sharply. We don't intervene in minor species disputes. Lyra stepped forward. Earth isn't minor. Valoran lifted a hand. General, allow her to speak. The Sarathi leaned back, arms crossed. Lyra locked eyes with him. You think Earth is weak because we don't have hyperdrive fleets or plasma weapons. Her voice lowered. You have no idea what humans become when someone threatens home. The Sidran emitted a faint hum. Elaborate, Lyra inhaled, remembering childhood stories, wildfires, floods, quakes. Humanity pushed to the edge, yet always rebuilding. We don't survive conflict because we're the strongest. We survive because we never stop. Silence swallowed the chamber. Lyra continued, not raising her voice, letting conviction do the work. You fear what humans are capable of, but you haven't seen what we're capable of when we have something to protect. The Sarathi's gaze narrowed, no longer dismissive. The council exchanged a glance. Finally, Valoran spoke. The Alliance proposes a temporary defense alliance with Earth. Lyra blinked. What does that mean? The Avix answered. Training. Technology exchange. Joint defense exercises, the Sarathi added gruffly, and we observe how humans fight. Lyra couldn't help the faint smirk. You want to see if we're useful? We want to see if you're ready, Valoran corrected. Lyra considered it. She wasn't a general or a diplomat. She was a 17-year-old exchange student who just wanted to prove humans weren't monsters. But Earth needed representation, and right now, she was the only human in the room. She exhaled. I'll do it. The Avix tapped his data pad. Then we begin immediately, Lyra shook her head. No, not me alone. If I'm representing my species, I need more humans here. The Sarathi frowned. Why? Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Because you're about to learn what humans do best. The Sidran shifted. And what is that? Lyra lifted her chin, voice steady and fearless. We adapt. The council exchanged looks. Then Valoran stood, extended his hand, not as chancellor, but as equal. Then welcome to the Alliance Initiative, Lyra Hale. She shook his hand. The chamber lights dimmed. A new hologram appeared. This one labeled Project. Earth Vanguard. Her heart skipped. Not fear. Purpose. Later, observation. Deck Lyra stood once again above the storming gas giant. Watching lightning tear through swirling clouds, she heard footsteps, cricks. But this time he didn't carry arrogance. He looked. Humbled, I heard, he said quietly. You're representing Earth. Lyra didn't turn. Council's decision. A pause. You earned it, he admitted. Lyra faced him. The reflection of the storm lit her eyes. I didn't do it alone. You showed me what restraint costs and what it wins. His throat tightened. Thank you, he said. For not breaking me when I deserved it. Lyra's expression softened. Growth hurts. That's normal. He nodded once and left. Final scene. Lyra alone. Her datapad pinged. A message from Earth Command. Open exchange program approved. Send names. Lyra typed 3 words. Send the curious. She powered off the pad and whispered to the window, to the storms, to the galaxy. The stars are about to learn what humans are. and she smiled. Sharp, confident, unstoppable, not a monster. Not a threat, a Deathworld girl who chose restraint and earned the galaxy's attention.